What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 149 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zerlene and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And don't forget to join the Discord. I'll have a link in the description below. Right now I'm doing a ship build poll on what my next ship build is going to be. So if you want to get involved with that, be sure to join the Discord and click on build next ship build poll. If there's something on that list that you see that you don't necessarily want, but maybe have another suggestion, you could always click on build suggestions as well. Anyway, we've got about a 34-minute episode today, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So kick back, relax, and let's get this going. So today we're going to be doing a lot of detailing on the exterior of our ship. We're going to start it off with adding a nice row of gray going around our shuttle bay doors. And the reason that I'm doing this is for a couple of reasons. One, later on, we're actually going to be closing off our shuttle bay doors to where we can have them closed. And we want to be able to differentiate the doorway itself from the rest of the ship. And the problem that we'll have is that building with the white quartz, everything is going to be the same color, so we need to use different colors in that case. So that's why we're using this gray, so that this way once we close it in, it doesn't get lost in the shuffle and you can still see that outline there, so that you know that that area is designated as the shuttle bay. And also you can come back if you want and delete the doorway and have it opened. You don't have to keep it closed. But this is also, it's going to stick out just a little bit more. I do think that we're going to be using more of the flat color of the gray that we'll come back and replace this with, like we have up here. That's just like one solid piece, and instead of it looking like individual panels with the ones that I'm currently using. So that's something that you can do too if you want to just go ahead and make that change, or just to see how it looks. But at the end of the day, you can use either one, doesn't matter, whatever your preference is. But really the main goal here is to have that outline in place to where you can differentiate the doorway from the rest of the ship. And once this is done, we'll be working on some detailing on the pylons. That'll be a lot of fun, and it's going to help bring out just that much more detail out of the Enterprise D that we don't currently have. Hard to believe we're in episode 149. Still a decent amount of work left to do on this build. So definitely appreciate you guys sticking with me throughout the course of this tutorial. You know, for those of you that are watching this episode, you know, I've kind of talked about this in the past. You're either watching this because you're having trouble building your own Enterprise D, or you're looking for different ideas that you can incorporate into your ship. And really, I'm offering you guys a platter of content here when it comes to the Enterprise D. This isn't just, you know, a 10-part series. We're talking 149 episodes so far, which is massive. But, you know, Enterprise D is pretty massive in itself. So, you know, I think that it's justified in that regard, because every single episode that we've done, we've taken the time to build out every single area on the ship in real time, and also have a discussion about it. Why I made those changes, different things that you can do on the ship, where I got those reference material from, and just my whole thought process behind it. You know, this is just a great example on everything that you'll see coming out on my channel. You know, I really try to incorporate as much as I possibly can into my entire process when I build these ships, because I would never call myself like an expert builder or anything like that, but you know, when I first started working on Minecraft, I've talked about this from time to time, that you know, I had no experience building ships like this, and I went on YouTube. I typed in U.S.S. Enterprise tutorial on Minecraft, or actually I started with U.S.S. Enterprise on Minecraft, and I started seeing builds that people had done that looked kind of cool. A lot of them looked pretty epic. Um, and I was like, okay, well, how do I do this? So then, I started seeing that people were doing tutorials for various things, and I started searching for tutorials on the Enterprise. And I found people that were doing it, but all people would ever really do is just sit there and talk about a ship that was already built. They don't actually show you how to do it. And then if you message them asking them questions, they're afraid to tell you because it's almost like they don't want to give you something because it's going to take away from what they're providing on their channel. And it's like, the way I look at it at the end of the day, I don't mind sharing that stuff because and that's something that I hate, within fandom or within the community, I guess, that people aren't willing to share what they know. I think it's better to share that information with the community, um, to help people to do something that you yourself enjoy, you know? Because the way I look at it is that if you're good at something, even if you're showing your process, you're not really giving anything. You're not giving something. You're not taking anything away from the channel. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think that's why a lot of people don't show their method on why they do some of this stuff on here, is because they don't want to lose what they think, or they think that they're going to lose something, basically, and that somebody's going to take it and do it better than them, and that they'll miss out. The way I look at it, the more the merrier. I have, in the course that I've played Minecraft, I've come across a few people here and there that are pretty cool. It showed me how to do cool things, you know. Like, for example, with my automatic doors, I didn't always know how to do stuff like that. This was meeting people on Minecraft that saw that I could build pretty cool, and they're like, hey, did you know that you could do this, and this is how you do it? And I was like, oh dude, thanks, that's freaking awesome, thank you for showing me. So I think it's very important to be able to show this stuff off. So hopefully you guys will have taken something away from this tutorial series, even though we're not really getting into the mechanics of like redstone and stuff like that. Really, I think the focus of my tutorials have been building itself. There's other people out there that could do it better, way better than I can, as far as like redstone tutorials and different things like that. So that's kind of why I really don't get into it too much, unless it's something that's vital on my build. I really just focus on the building itself, because I honestly feel like that's the area that I can really kind of contribute the most. And if I can help you guys, to either become a better builder, get different ideas, or even just look at some things differently than how you were doing it before, I kind of feel like that's a win-win for me. Because I'm able to do what I enjoy doing on here, which is building these ships. I get to talk about it, and I get to share that with people. And for me, like, that's honestly, I think that's what my goal has been with the channel from the get-go. Just being able to do something that I enjoy doing, and being able to share it with people and talk about it, and help somebody out that maybe was in the position that I was in when I first started playing Minecraft. Because it can be very daunting task to level up, sort of say on Minecraft, and learn how to do things differently. It took me several years to figure out all the stuff that I'm doing right now. And I'm sure there's people out there that are like, they played Minecraft and like within a couple of days, like they had it, figured out everything. And it's like, for people like that, I say good for you, because I was not like that. It took me a while to develop these skills, trial and error. And that's something that I even do today, but I own those mistakes. This is why I show them in my videos, because not everybody's perfect. You're gonna make mistakes on Minecraft, but that's also the beauty in it too, because I've also found that, with making those mistakes, you come across solutions that work out so much better than what you had to begin with. And that's kind of where we're going to be at today, because we're working on these, I guess this is like ribbing on the pylon. But, and it's funny because this is something that you don't really see on the show too much. I don't think I ever actually remember seeing this detail on the show, but I know that it's there because I've seen this on various models, and I don't know, I thought that this was a very pretty bit of detailing on the ship, and it's something that I wanted to incorporate because, again, if we look at this screenshot that we have up to the right, if you look at the majority of the detailing, it's within this weird Aztecing that's on the ship. And it's very 90s, I'll say that about it, because they based this, in my opinion, off of the Aztecing, sort of say that they did off of the Enterprise from the motion picture. And it wasn't even Aztecing. The guy that they got to paint that ship with like the pearlescent paint, like that guy had to have been a genius, because the type of pattern that he had going on, like it really looked like these were individual panels that were on the ship that were added on. And it wasn't necessarily a set pattern like you would see on this ship. It felt more natural, I guess, is what I'm looking for. And if I could have done this pattern, the Aztecing, and felt that I could do it and it looked good, I would have added it on. But it was just a combination of me not feeling that I could do it justice, and then also running into the problem of not having the full range of color that I needed with the half slabs to do it. So that was my main reason for opting out. So the super long explanation that when we touched on this in the last episode was, if we can't use the Aztecing, what detail do we use? And this is a combination of thinking outside the box, what we got the pinstripe out of, looking at models. And I actually take it back, because the pinstripe is here on this ship, so I didn't actually get that from the toy. But that is going to come up, because I do believe, because there was pinstriping that I added on the saucer that I got from the toy. So I stand corrected on that, I apologize. But, there are things that you can find even from this picture here that you can incorporate in. Like these dark gray tubes, this is a bit of detail. There's this white dot, these 3 rows of the gray right here in the middle. This stripe that we're working on here in the pylon. This piece of yellow, I guess that's like a shield emitter. That's what it looks like. Or this phaser bank right here. The panel lines right here. These are all bits of detail that we can kind of pull out of this picture and use. That we're not even necessarily hitting the Aztecing. That's why I say the attention to detail can be so important, It's never a bad idea, just, before you start any build, it's pretty much a requirement to do your research and pull as many screenshots as you can in source material that you're going to use for the build, because it's going to help you to make that build better. But there's nothing wrong with why you're doing it, to maybe you're working on the ship and it's missing something. That's a great opportunity again to do even more research, but be more specific in what you're searching. You could try to search U.S.S. Enterprise D detailing, or hull detailing, or maybe you could really think outside the box and look on YouTube for people that are actually that build models from scratch, or maybe they just paint them, seeing what they did to detail the ship. You never know what you might find on the internet. It's kind of what I'm getting at. And you can find some really cool details that you can incorporate if you're willing to take the time to look. So you guys will eventually get tired of me saying it, there's all these different things that you can do to kind of make your ship stand out. And even what we're doing right now today, and I just want to apologize for this pop-up with the mail thing that came up. There's no way for me to edit that out of the video. I got really upset. I don't want to say really, but I got a little upset when that happened. I was like, man, I can't go back and edit that out. I've gone too far in today's episode. I mean, I could have maybe edited it out, but I'm not an expert with editing. I'm still fairly new to this. Because like, there's some YouTubers that, they have people that work with them to help them to, to get their content. They help them with editing, marketing, all that stuff. I do all this by myself on my YouTube channel in my free time. So like, I'm no expert by any means when it comes to, editing and graphic art and the stuff that I have on my channel. Like, I've got experience with the graphic art. I've been doing that for, a bit, but again, it's something I wouldn't consider myself an expert on. So I mostly consider myself a novice that I'm constantly learning. But even with like the editing, I use a very simple program to do my video editing. It's Easy Movie Maker that I downloaded for free in the Microsoft Store. And it's worked out great for me so far, because I've been able to do everything that I need to do, and it's not complicated. It's easy enough that even I can do it, and it's helped me to make my videos look just a little bit better. Not perfect. There's still going to be some things here and there that I might miss, like that pop-up for one of my email. I wish, I was better with editing, that I could have just taken that out. But it is what it is. We're just doing it live, as Ron Burgundy would say. Alright, before we go all the way across, I want to zoom up and take a look. That doesn't look too bad, because see, what I'm trying to replicate here is it has that ribbing underneath. And we've got the ribbing here, and then in between the ribbing we've got like a nice strip of blue. In the picture here it looks like it's lit up, but again, I never, other than looking at models or pictures, I never noticed this bit of detail here, so I'm not necessarily sure if this does in fact light up, or if that was more just artistic liberty that somebody took with the Enterprise D in that area. Could have very well been the case. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. But we're going to try to replicate it based off the picture that we have. The one problem that I'm having with what I've got going on so far is that the actual rib lines, not the blue, but the rib lines, like I need a different color basically in there to make it pop a little bit more. And then not only that, the blue itself, it's almost lost because it's very dark. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that we could do to get around that. We can add in some light sources to kind of brighten that up a little bit. We could even get rid of the blue and just do it in a different color. There's so many things that we could do here. Again, this is kind of comes down to dealer's choice. What do you think is going to look the best? Because again, what I'm saying here, things that I'm going to be making changes to or adding on, isn't necessarily the best thing to do. It's just what I think looks best. But, it's all these little details. These things are going to tie into your ship in the long run. This is why it's just so important to have all these details in your ship, because not one of them, and I've talked about this before, not one detail by itself is going to sell it, but think of it like a layering system. You start adding in all these elements together, eventually you're going to be at a point where you've got a very detailed piece, and that's really what we want. Not one thing's going to sell it by itself, but it's a team effort of all these different elements that we've been working on now for the past 149 episodes to get us where we are right now. Just one step at a time, taking the time to do all this stuff, build it out little by little, and it takes a little bit of prep work and planning on what you want to do. Sometimes, we do this on the fly. It's a combination of the two, planning stuff out and then looking at what you did that you planned on, and then thinking, okay, what's missing from this? What can I do to improve upon it? As we've planned out, I planned out building out this piece actually for a while now. I had fully intended to add this piece on, because I know I've even talked about that in previous episodes. But again, once we get this done, that will bring us into the realm of what can we do to improve upon it, which we're gonna work on, which will be very cool, because it'll give you some good examples on what you can do to fix things Um, because, just because you build something out doesn't necessarily mean you have to walk away from it. You can make changes to it. That's okay. Things don't have to come out perfect the first time. Sometimes it's a constant evolutionary effort, I guess you can say. I don't even know if that's a word. Um, but basically, sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get where you need to be. So we're going to try something out here to try to cut down on the darkness in between our ribbing here. And instead of using the full blocks, I'm going to try to switch it to half slabs and see how that looks. Half slabs could end up working out pretty well, because the advantage to us using half slabs is not only is it going to make it look a little bit brighter, but we can also go on the underside and add in the sea lanterns. So what I've gone ahead and done off camera, I've replaced all the white rows with the half slabs, just to save on a little bit of time. I decided, like, you know what, no, we're not going to do that live and sit here for another 15 minutes rebuilding that. No, we're just going to do it off camera. And it does look a little bit better, but I still think that we're missing, like, there needs to be a darker color, like, surrounding this piece or something to kind of separate it from the rest, to give it just a little bit more of a defining line on it. It could very well be the artist in me coming out on this build, because you guys notice that I do that quite a bit, where I have a lot of identifying lines in certain area, like the backbone of the neck is another perfect example where I had the dark gray going down the backbone of the neck. And I think it worked out very well, because it really helped to identify that cut line going down the back. And I've found that building on Minecraft, when you do things like that, having detail lines basically can help bring out the detail even more than just building it out itself. Alright, so we've extended out our phaser banks a little bit, and now we've also built our shield emitters. Not looking too shabby so far, looking pretty good. Yeah, that's the gray line that I was talking about right here on the backbone of the neck. We can even extend that down on the sides here and bring that going all the way down. What I think I'm doing right now is these two gray strips right here and here. I'm going to try to add those in maybe and just see how that looks. Just with that little bit of extra detail, again, paying attention to the small things on the ship. Because again, those small details, I mean, they can really help you in the long run. Because again, not by itself, but you start adding them on layer by layer, it's going to make a difference. I mean, that doesn't look too bad. I don't know if I necessarily need 2 rows of different colors. Maybe one or the other might work in that case. As again, sometimes not everything that you do the first time is going to look the best. But we'll let it marinate for now. Sometimes, you got to throw something down, see how it looks, let it sit for a little bit, and then come back to it at a later time, and then maybe revamp it a little bit, or maybe make a slight tweak to it. So now what I'm doing, I'm really looking for detailing within my ship. So you notice directly underneath each shuttle bay door, there's a slight red stripe. So I've identified that now, and I've come to the row that I can add a full row or full block of the red, and it goes with a cut line. That's why I've done it right here, so it's skipping row, and there's a little bit of a gap just like here in the picture. But what I'm doing is I'm actually extending it out just a little bit more than how it looks in the picture. And what I might actually end up doing on this right side here is actually maybe have the red stripe going along the full um, doorway itself. That could end up being a thing. You start to look at all these little details, it can help you. We've got our shield emitters up here that we can add in. On this side here, you can see on the left and right side of the piece that the bridge sits on, it has a little red stripe here on each side. We can add that in. There's a blue stripe that surrounds the bridge itself. We can add that on too. It's just all this extra gray junk that they added on the ship that we're not focusing on that again. We're not doing the Aztecing. We don't have the blocks to do it. Because we're using the quartz, and we need gray blocks to be able to pull that off. And remembering again, because of our ship, the way that it's built, we're using a combination of the full blocks and half slabs. We don't have access to the blocks that we need with the half slabs. Now they do have gray ones, but not the shade that I at least want. So this change that I'm making right here with the blue going around the bridge, I don't actually think I'm going to end up keeping this. But I think it was worth trying because it was on here with the picture. And we're just, keeping it simple. We're just going to build, going with our cut line that's already here, replacing the white concrete row with the blue row, or with the blue block, I mean. Now before we go any further, we're just going to kind of cruise back, take a look at it, see what we've done, see if we like it. Doesn't look bad. So I think we'll just finish it off for now. And again, let it sit. If it ends up being that, it's too much, we could always take it out. It's not a big deal. We can add in what we had before. We can try a different color, maybe a darker color, maybe like a darker gray. That might work out a little bit better. There's a lot of different things that you can try to do where, you can slightly, again, vary away from what you're seeing in the picture or what would be considered canon. You can make these slight tweaks and it's not that big of a deal. But for right now, we're going to try to stick to how it looks in the picture. But I'm pretty certain that this blue line, we're going to get rid of that eventually. Okay. We're looking pretty good. I'm going to zoom out and take a look at that. You can see little by little we're getting more and more detail into our ship. It's one bit at a time. We're not in any type of rush. We're just doing it very, very conservatively. This way we get the maximum result out of it rather than, again, shotgunning it, because to me, shotgunning it doesn't really do anything for me. Anytime that I've tried to rush my builds, it always ends up coming out worse than what I intended it to. So that's another reason why I take my time too. It just works out better for me. Alright, so we're in pretty good shape right now. I think we're going to add in some more of these shield emitters. And the one thing just to pay attention with this is just be consistent with what you're doing. So just like how we built the shield emitters down on the lower hull, you know, we have a very simple pattern. The overall shape of it is yellow, but the very top and bottom of it has a strip of black or dark gray. Very important to maintain that as you go through your build. You know, this is why I always say, you know, make sure that you're consistent with your design cues and you carry them over everywhere that you're doing it. So everywhere that we're doing these shield emitters exactly, they need to have that detail, because again, you want to stay consistent with what you're doing. And when you stop doing that, that's when your build starts to fall apart, when you start losing that consistency. We've got a couple more shield emitters that we can add up at the very top here. Really, I mean, it looks like there's more escape pods as in my to my ship, but also the thing to take into consideration too, off the picture here, the escape pods are actually a lot bigger than mine, because I'm only using a single block. I just did it for the detailing, and I just decided, I'm like, you know what, because originally I was going to do a 4x4 or 2x2, and it just ended up being too much. So you can see we've got the shield emitters, or not shield emitters, phaser banks right here. That's where we're adding in. And I'm getting my starting point, that's why I was counting that out. And I actually made a mistake here, because I need to start off the ends, and I might actually need to go up a little bit here, because what's happening is that I'm actually making a slight mistake here. I'm building these phaser banks a little bit too far down, because you look in the picture here, they're on the dish, the saucer, but they're above the shuttle base, which isn't that much of a big deal. It really isn't. Like, again, you can get away with stuff like this, but really, if I wanted to do it right, I'd need to build it up in this area right up here. You know, I think what we'll just do, we need to just delete what we just did and find a better starting point for those. And even right here, I don't know if this is high up enough. I need to go in between those two lines that I just showed you guys a moment ago. I think that would be the perfect spot probably to do these, because no matter what, we're going to have to slightly adjust it based off the picture, because it's not necessarily going to work. I mean, that actually that could work maybe. We might have just enough room to do it. Yeah, because you can see here, I'm making a mistake, because what I'm doing is that I'm not taking into account the fact that this shuttle bay is much smaller than this shuttle bay. And you know, again, this can happen to anybody when you're paying attention, but you're not paying attention to a very subtle thing. This is why it's not matching up, and it's just totally messing me up here. This is why it's so vital to really just focus on what you're doing. But again, no matter what, we're kind of going to have that problem where each side is not really going to match up unless we move it up between those two lines like I was showing you before. Now, I believe I finally have where both sides are matching, which doesn't look bad, but again, you know, it's going to look a little bit off because the shuttle bays are not the same size. And we could maybe leave that. It doesn't look bad, but at least both sides finally match. You know, again, we could leave it, see how it looks. And we could always, you know, address that later on. If we want to make changes to it, we can always make changes to it. But, you know, again, sometimes it's better to throw something down, see how it looks, and see if we need to make some changes to it. And if we do, you know, we'll kind of roll with the punches and make those changes as we need to. But all right, we're kind of moseying on right through. Got had a pretty decent episode run today, 34 minutes, but I think that's going to wrap us up. Just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. Comment below if you have any questions regarding this episode today, or just to drop by to say, hey, I definitely love hearing from everybody, but this truly helps my channel to grow. The more subscribers I get, the more likes I get, the more interactions I get. These are things that YouTube sees, and more likely chance that they'll recommend my videos to other people. So if you can help me out and do that, I'm truly grateful. Also, new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you always get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for me today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.